We are live. Everything should be working. Let's see who's all here today. Let's make sure we went live in Facebook because sometimes that does not happen. But today we should be live. Excited to have you here. If you're here with us today, please say hello. We'd love to see you in the chat. Would love to know that you're here. Yes, we're live. Yay. Today we're donning our party hat and our party beverage of choice, and we're talking about day 4 of the policy party. By now, you should be thinking about your prioritized change that you want to make, whether in your personal life or in public life. And you should be thinking about who can help you. You should be thinking about those champions on the public side or in your private life, like a mentor or a coach. And then you should be thinking about from yesterday, what was fact or fiction and pros and cons. I know that we had some homework from Nina, and she came in and said that she's working on thinking through like financing for family resource centers. And so she's thinking through those changes of what would be the cons and thinking about how that could create some competition between things. That's important stuff to think about. And so we're going to share our slide deck here and going to get going because we have a lot to talk about today. I want to be so excited that you're all here. So thanks for coming. So today it's the policy party, but before we get started, I want to tell you and remind you that tomorrow is our party. We're having a palooza with prizes. And some of those prizes you must be present to win. And so you don't want to miss that. That is tomorrow, same time, same place, but you got to be live for some of those prizes. Others are going to get prizes that are drawn from everybody that's participated this week. So if you've commented on a video, you've been present live, you have turned in homework, you have sent questions, all of those types of things will count and you will be put in for prizes. Can't wait. So we want to make sure that you're here tomorrow so that you can be part of that. Now, a couple of questions before we get started. They kind of go from yesterday. I just want to make sure that we capture all the questions. So sometimes you want to think people want to know about the city sidewalks. Well, that's a city issue. And that would be like your city planner, your city council. And so just knowing where to go is really important because the state doesn't control your sidewalks. Now, I had an example of this. My brother just recently said that he got a nasty email from a lady who said her husband fell down in front of his house on his sidewalk, and she wanted him to at least pay for his glasses because he looked like he was all beat up after falling down. Well, in his case, the city is part of the owner of the sidewalk, but he lives in a homeowners association who also has responsibility for the sidewalk. And then he, as a homeowner, also could have some responsibility for the sidewalk. So it matters thinking about, well, who owns it? Whose responsibility is it? Before you go paying for somebody's bills, you got to dive in and figure out, okay, who's actually responsible for the situation? So that's an important question. The second one is how much time should you think about when you're doing research on these issues? If you're trying to do something every day and research it, how long should that take? Well, really just long enough to know what you're talking about, right? We're talking about those pros and cons yesterday or fact and fiction. It takes a little bit of work, but sometimes if you know just the right person to talk to, it can be working smarter, not harder, and get all the answers you need in just one fell swoop. So thanks for your questions. If you have more, be sure to ask them. We'll get to them tomorrow. But today, this is the success path of where we've been. So we've been talking about those priorities. We've been talking about your champions. You were talking about your pros and cons yesterday. And today, we're going to craft a message. And then we have a bonus. For those of you that are in the personal growth, we're going to talk all about yours tomorrow on the 5th day about minding our mindset. But for those that are in the policy group, we're going to hit it today. We're going to craft our message. And this is really important on both sides. Whether you're doing something public or private, you need to know how to craft a message. So today, we're going to dive into that. So those of you that are on that growth plan, the next section tomorrow, we're going to dig in specifically for your own personal story. And that's going to be a bonus because not everybody's done this. This is brand new information and material. And we want you to be here for that tomorrow. So make sure you continue thinking about your fact and fiction list today. Or if you're interested in making sure you have a message that resonates, this personal growth message could be for you. So make sure you tell us that. So what we're going to do is look at how we create messages at work. So the principle used is effectively can get you anything you need in any location. At work, in the community, city council, all of it. So learning how to communicate a message appropriately and ask for what you need is the answer, and it always works. So you have to have some components of a message. To effectively communicate is really where it's at. If you get that important meeting in front of your boss and you're trying to ask for something, but you don't have a message or you just take off rambling or you forget to make the ask, man, we don't even get it done, right? You get the big meeting set up and then absolutely nothing happens. That's the worst. So you don't want that to happen. What you want is to make sure that you have the ability to share what you need to say in a concise way, in a way that they would want you to even come back and to talk to them more. You're trying to build a relationship. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to do that in a way to make sure that your message resonates, and so that you don't end up messing up an opportunity that you may have only once in a lifetime. So learning to communicate with a message that resonates begins to work now. This is something that'll work today. If you start talking correctly and have a message that makes sense with all the important parts attached, you can be more successful right now. Negotiating a new raise with your boss, working on that sidewalk with your city council member or your homeowners association, all of it. So it works immediately. So this is a really important one that you can get some really quick wins. So let's walk through it. There's 6 parts to an effective message. Okay, 6 parts. And it sounds like a lot, but once you see what it is, it's pretty easy. And so we're going to kind of walk through it, and we're going to give an example, because sometimes we forget, right, that there's an example and you're like, what are we even talking about? So let's make it practical. Let's make it simple. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an opening statement. That's exactly what it sounds like. A hi, how are you? Or hey, I've seen you around at the school with my kids. Nice to meet you. Or hey, you're my legislator. I live in your district, or whatever it is. But what's the connection, right? Opening statement. Or, hey, I've read about you and I know you care about this, and I do too, right? How are we going to connect? And it's easy. It's just a simple opening statement. It requires a little bit of research for you to do it well, though. You have to know the person to connect. So if you know that they have a kid in your school, or know where their kids go to school, or they have a kid in college, or whatever, that little personal touch will get them excited to talk with you. Be like, oh, your dad so-and-so. He was my dad's best friend in high school. I watched that one play out this year. And then all of a sudden, what was just a impersonal meeting became very personal and very warm. And they took pictures at the end, and all because they created a connection. They lived in the same town and didn't even remember they hadn't seen each other for years. Long talk about how they went to high school together, blah, 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 all because of this one piece. Easy, but you got to do a little bit of research to make sure you're there. So what's an example of this? Like, hi, so-and-so, I live in your district, right? We talked about that. Or my kids go to school with your kids, right? Things like that. That's the example. The next thing that we do is you present your problem. And this is where you kind of have to get it contained. You can't just share everything that's wrong in the world. You got to get it succinct, what it is, the specific issue you want addressed. And again, some research will help you in this to make sure it's an issue that, one, you can fix at the level that you're talking to, right? Because if it's a city sidewalk, that is not at the State House or in Congress. That is different. So you've got to know where you're talking to. So a little research helps here, or you're going to waste your time. But once you know where to talk to, you kind of put the problem succinct. We put it, examples could be everything, right? That new sidewalk you need in front of the street, the big hole, the big pothole. Have you seen all the people that are planting flowers in the potholes? They're getting attention and they're getting fixed. So kudos to them for making flowers. Some people are trying to make that illegal. I think it's pretty funny. So that's a way to get attention, right? And to get your message across. You can think about like breaks of work. If you have a workplace that doesn't like help you be healthy because you can't get breaks unless you smoke, maybe you need to work on that. And you want to talk to your boss about including some breaks in the day. Well, that'd be a great example of your problem. The problem is only the people that get a break are the ones that smoke. And those of us that are healthy, we would like to go for a walk and use our same time that they get to use. Great example. So you're talking about whatever it is that you're working on. Number 3, we're going to talk about providing facts or data about the problem. So do you have any data or research or anything to back it up, right? So if you're in a situation, you're talking about those sidewalks, how long has it been since the city has even looked at them, or whoever's job it is? Or did, like in my brother's case, the city had done some work next to it and had made it uneven, which is probably why the guy fell in the first place. So the city is partly to blame for the whole thing because they did work and didn't even out the ground when they were done. So what are the facts? What are the data? What do you have to back up your concern or your plan, right? If there's a situation where you're not getting the medications that you need for your family, how can you get the data to back it up? Is it just you? Probably not. How many other people are impacted, right? That's the kind of information that really matters. And you can get that very quickly and just state it briefly. Now, In this case, if you're going to put together a leave behind, and we talk about this more in detail if you're involved in our course later, our members love this, but a leave behind is like one piece of paper on one side, not a book, not a big binder, not a bunch of stuff, because a lot of people are really busy and they have limited space in which they can keep this material. So if you want to leave a whim behind, like a one pager to talk about your issue, data and facts are part of that. That's exactly what goes on. It is like giving them some information. And we'll talk in just a minute about what the next part is on that leave behind. But the fourth part about setting up a message is you're going to share a short story. How does this impact you? So the sidewalk story, right? My brother is getting a nasty email from a lady who's saying her husband fell down on his sidewalk and it's all his fault and that he should at least pay for his glasses. There could be 1,000 reasons why somebody fell down. The sidewalk might be one of them, might not, but what's he going to do, right? Becomes a policy issue. Who's responsible for the sidewalk, right? So you have to automatically tell a story. And so you go and you find that the city was responsible, but they don't want to pay for it because, they did that construction. So you may have to have a story and go and talk to the city about the fact that your neighbor fell down because the city left a hole, blah, 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 right? So you got to put a concise story together. Now, one thing I want to caution you here, especially with people that want to work in healthcare and mental health, make sure that when you share a story, it is pretty well healed. What I mean by healed is that you cannot be so raw that you can't get through it without crying and blubbering all over others, because people get really uncomfortable in that. Not that emotion, and some emotions not bad. It is good in some cases, but make sure it's like, think about it like a wound, right? It's got to be enough that there's a Band-Aid over the top so that you can talk about it without just tearing up and falling apart. That's not, if you're still bleeding, as I call it, all over others with the wound, you're not quite ready to share that story. Pick a different one that's probably related, that's easier to talk about until you've gotten healed a little bit more from the issue. Then once you're a little bit healed of it and you still feel passionate about it, that's the best time to include that story. So think about that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is you're going to connect to them. And if you did your correct opening statement, you've already done this. But why does this matter to the person you're talking to, right? So if they live in your district too, and they walk that sidewalk every day, and you've already used that as your opening statement, hey, I see you walking by my house. Did you see that piece of sidewalk that's broken? That's a combination. But if you haven't made that connection at the opening, do it here. Why does the person you're talking to care about what you care about? Is it their job to care about it? Is that their role? So they're the city councilman who's supposed to fix it. They are the legislator that's supposed to fix it. What's in it for them, right? What do they get out of helping you? What do they care about? So connect to them. This requires you to know the person. You have to know where they're from, maybe their background. Like I said, the same applied for the opening statement, but it really helps here. Why do they care if you have potholes on your street? Well, maybe they drive past your house 3 times a week and they keep hitting it and it's tearing up their car. So you make a personal connection there and they're all over helping you. Now, the last piece of this puzzle is making your request or the ask. Make sure you know what you're going to say here and it's concise and there's a solution that somebody can help you with. When I was a legislator, one of the most frustrating parts of my life was when people would come to me and tell me all the problems, but they didn't have any suggestions on what to do about it. And I'm telling you, as a legislator, you don't know everything, right? These people are from citizen walks of life. We've talked about that. They're bankers, they're farmers, they're lawyers, they're, social workers, they're teachers. So they don't know everything. Nobody does. And so if you come to me with a legal problem in my district, and I'd love to help you, what is your proposed solution? That at least gives me a place to start. So you need to have a call to action that has a solution so that you can tell people what to do. Does this make sense? Now, I know that was a lot, but we've got some other pieces to get to. Now, right now, you might be thinking, wow, that is so much. How in the world do I do that research? How do I figure out who the people are to talk to? How do I set up those meetings, right? Who here might need a little bit more help? Who might be feeling a little overwhelmed at the number of ideas you have and prioritizing was hard? Who do you know? Who's here that's like, oh my gosh, I could use a little more help. Did I overwhelm anybody? I see Cherry's here. I see Lindsay here. Do I have permission to tell you more of how you could get some more help if you're stuck at this point? Because I don't want to leave you stuck. I want to leave you in a great place. Who is on board with me telling you a little bit more about what you can do to fix this issue if you're stuck? Who's here going to tell me? Oh, I see it. Lindsay's here. She's like, yep, we can do it. Giving people direction. Yep. Cherry. Yep. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about this. So what happens if you're stuck? This is the homework for today. And this is about that 6-person message. And again, you can ask any questions. So make sure you ask your questions, because this is what gets you the answers you need. But who else wants to know more? That's a really good question, isn't it? I know. Lindsay says, so what we have built for you is what's called Making Healthier Policies Experience. And what this is, it walks you through the whole process of making better policies. And there are some people I know in the group this week. Jamie's here. Some of her friends are here, and they want to make better policies in the world. Peggy's here. Sheila's here. And I want to tell them there is a better way. And we've captured all of that great stuff and put it into a course that has personal coaching as a group, because although the coaching is great, the people in the group, that network of people, are amazing. And they learn to talk to each other and help each other. In our last group, I think of 2 or 3 ladies that were in there. Mona was in there, and Nina was there, and Nicole was there. And they've become friends outside of our group. And now I see them helping each other with their policy journeys. That's one of the biggest blessings here. So are you a frustrated advocate where you're like, nobody's listening to me? I don't know where to start. I'm completely overwhelmed. I don't know who the people are to talk to. If that's you, this is for you. We are talking about moving people from being a frustrated advocate to being an effective policymaker. And I remember my story. I didn't do any of this in college. I didn't learn any of it on purpose. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be a politician. I didn't want to take government to get out of high school. So I did as little as possible, which is hilarious. Ended up having to learn it later. So I learned it just doing it. And so I can teach that to you. You do not have to be a special person to learn how to make this better. I'm here to help. And so the effective policymaker, what does that even look like? Well, you know what to do first. You know who to talk to. You know how to build some coalitions so that you can get stuff actually passed instead of just chatting about it. And then you can make that message that resonates so that you become the expert on the issue when they want to talk to you. Wendy is in this group, and she is becoming the go-to person for autism, because that is one of her passion projects. And so she's working in those systems, meeting with people. She got to travel to DC already in this space. She is doing this work, and she was part of our group last time. And so this is exactly what we teach people how to do, so that you on the topic you care about can become the effective policymaker. Wouldn't that be fun? So Brittany took the course before, and she said she took the course to learn more about real life application of policy. She'd been the one that had been in school and done it from a school perspective, which is great. But sometimes you need to know how to do it actually in the world, right? So ivory towered stuff, sometimes people are looking down, telling you how to make policy, and it doesn't really work. We get that a lot in the Midwest. We call them coastal consultants, come in and tell us how to do things. And it doesn't really jive with how things go in the Midwest. And so she was looking for practical application, and she found it. Deborah took the course to meet new people and hear what it takes on getting policy passed. She worked at the Capitol, but didn't work in the passing side of things. And so she was interested in, how does that work? So there's a tipping point here, right? You can get a lot of work with very few results, or you do a little bit of work and get big results. And we're here to help you hit that tipping point to make you work smarter, not harder. Remember, I'm all about work-life balance. And to do that, we don't want to sit here and make you work on things that doesn't matter. So we're not doing that anymore. It's just not what we're doing. So what does it look like? It's a 6-module course. There's lots of video components to it that you do on your own. And there's weekly coaching calls. We get together as a group and we sit down and chat about each of these issues. We pull out some of the key highlights of the week. We do a small training portion, and then we talk about it. And so you could be part of that group with some really smart people. And the people that have gone through it before can go through it again and be part of the mentors along with this crowd. We'd love to have them come back. And so that way they can be part of the group. And we want to make sure that you know that this is available for you. This is one of our group calls. It shows here we did the weekly coaching. This is one of our groups. Amazing people, super smarter than me. And they're out doing great stuff in the world. And they just wanted to talk more and became good friends. This is the hub. This is what it would look like. You'd have a hub where you could go to see videos. One of the coolest things about the hub, it is searchable. So you don't have to watch all of it. You can go in and look for keywords, for key things that you want to know, and it's there. And in the hub, if you ask questions, we put your name attached to that so that you can go search by your name and it pops right up. So you can get right on time information. You can watch the hub as a video, you can listen to it as audio, or you can read it as a transcript. So whatever is the best way for you. It is a super slick, easy system so that you can get all this information that you need. I love this part. It's really cool. And the replays all go there. So if you can't be on live each week, you can catch up. You'll never fall behind. So we have a private support group. And so it's just our people, and some of the amazing mentors that have been with us before will be part of that group if they choose to be. And so there will be an amazing group of people. You really want to know them. They are ladies that are making a difference around the world, and you've got to know them. So what would you think this would cost? It could cost quite a bit of money, right? If you actually put it up piece by piece, it could cost a lot of money. But really, we don't have it looking like that because there's a lot of value that we want to give to you. We want to make sure that you have an experience that makes a difference, that you actually can move your agenda forward. And so all of these prices, one of the things we were including, I told them, if you have an idea that is so amazing that I want to connect you to somebody in my Rolodex. And immediately young people said, what the heck is a Rolodex? Tells you how old I am. Well, a Rolodex kind of looks like this. Anymore, it could be your contacts in your phone. You might have a CRM that manages it, but basically it's awesome people. And I have this huge network. I've been in government in the state now for a long time at different levels. And so if you have an amazing idea or concept that needs to be passed, I pull out my Rolodex, my connections, and connect you to those right people. And we talked about this. You could go back and talk to Nina, talk to Nicole. There were people that we connected them with specifically that could help them move their issue forward. That's what's different than anything else that's out there. So how much do you think it would be worth to you if you were less sick at work because you fixed policies at the office? And so you didn't have to use sick days. You could actually use your days off for days off. Wouldn't that be something? Or not for your kids either, for yourself. Actually use your days off. Wouldn't that be worth everything? It's really important to think about, like, how could I make better policies at work so I could feel better? This is only going to be $17.97, or we have a 3 payment plan for those that don't want to make it a full payment. It is not expensive. It is reasonable. It is something that you could easily do. And there's so many benefits. But wait, there's more. What if the investment saved you 3 hours of work a week because you figured out how to work smarter and not harder? How much is 3 hours of your life every single week worth to you? How much is it worth? It's worth a lot, right? So that's what you got to be thinking about. So again, this is going to be $17.97, or there's a 3 payment option, and you can join us. There's a link at the bottom, makinghealthierpolicies.com. That's where you'd go and get all the information and all the details. And if you're a person that wants all the details because you want to know the ins, the outs, exactly what's offered, that place, makinghealthierpolicies.com, is exactly where you go to get every piece of information. So the QR code's right here. If you don't want to go to the link, you can go straight through the QR code, and it will help you get connected to makinghealthierpolicies.com and figure out exactly what you get out of it. You're going to leave the course having a message that resonates so you never feel unheard again. And you will be on your path to helping you make healthier policies in your life, either with work or in the community. That's what we're offering to you today. So if your message was working and resonating, how much would it be? How much would that be worth to you? What would it be worth if you didn't have to repeat meetings over and over for the next 12 months? If you got stuff done where you didn't have to keep doing it over and over and over, is it worth $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000? I know for me, saving time is worth a lot. So making sure, think about it. What is it worth? So save time. What is it worth? You can't get time back, right? You can make more money, but you can't make more time. So think about, what is it for you that matters? Now, we have some really fun after action bonuses this year. You can have an extra month of support calls for the first 10 people. This is only limited to 10. My group is limited, so it's a limited edition situation. 10 people. You can have the full extra month of support calls. We have a whole series created on self-care that I have taught and I have recorded, and it is available to you for free. And then we have a full focus set. And this is really cool. If you like Michael Hyatt and any of the full focus ideas, we have a set that's available to you that you can't even purchase. It, I can't even explain how you can't purchase it, but it's crazy. But you first get the book that's a New York Times bestseller book called Mind Your Matters, which is by Michael Hyatt and Megan Hyatt Miller. But you also get this desk pad that helps you schedule out your week and do your big three for the full week, like look at your week and figure out what you're doing. And then there's some special sticky notes that have a top 3 where you can decide what the 3 big things are you're going to do today and stick them wherever you keep your stuff to keep yourself organized. You can't buy any of that. So it is limited edition. It is only for people that subscribe and for only those that take the fast action bonus. And so I'm telling you, you can't even buy it. So this is cool. You're going to want it. I'm telling you, I love it. I use my sticky pads all the time. I think they're here somewhere. I should have had one for you. So testimonials, who thinks this works? Elise was part of our very first group that went through. She thought it was an opportunity to think practically about policy that you would like to be changed. And so she had things in mind she wanted to change, and she's out changing the world and getting her PhD at the time, actually working on policy in that space. Nina's been here before. She's talked about it being great for understanding challenges of getting policy passed. We talk about a lot of myths and pitfalls and things where people get stuck and they don't even know they exist. And so we teach a lot of that inside baseball, if you will, because I've been there, done that. So I'm going to help you try to avoid those pitfalls. And then Mona joined us last year, and she said she loved the optimistic presence on the Zooms and that the group members are the future, and they're training them to be understand and not get caught in the barbed wire. And that's a wonderful legacy. I have some typos in that one. I better work on some typos. So again, the price does not go up because we add all those bonuses. You can get the Rolodex where you can get connected to my friends. You would have the ability to have extra support calls. You'd be able to get that self-care course if you're interested, and a full focus set, which isn't even available to purchase. And so again, a price of $17.97 for those three payments. So your success path, it begins here. You have to buy the course, got to get in the game, got to get into the arena. We help you figure out, you join our group, we think about engage in the coaching, and then you change your policy. It really is that simple. Let me help you walk you through it because there's a lot of distractions out there. We're just going to go straight to the heart of it and get your stuff done. If you have questions about any of this, here's the QR code again, and you can go straight to the URL Genius link if you would prefer and just ask any questions that you have. We are going to be having our cart's going to be open, and we will talk about when all that closes tomorrow. But tomorrow, once again, we are going to have all of the party. Oops, I forgot. I hit the wrong button. I tell you what, me and technology this week. We are going to have the policy party, and we're going to give away prizes for those that participated this week. So please, if you haven't gotten your submissions in and you want to be part of the prizes, please make sure you get those in tonight. And we're going to be seeing you tomorrow. Thanks everybody for coming. Have a great day, and we will see you all.